Let's move into Luka Doncic. He's clearly gained some weight. I think that that's undisputable. This idea for this video comes from seeing all of those old clips of him and Jalen Brunson, and it's less so about those two guys being split up and more so just about how different Luka Doncic looks and the trajectory that the Mavericks are taking right now. Nico Harrison got bailed out, got that first overall pick, can build an actual contending team with the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka Doncic now on the Lakers, an aging LeBron, and a roster that certainly needs some help. Is he conditioned enough? Is there a conversation to be had? We're having a lot of conversations, as you mentioned, that maybe the Mavericks aren't too bad off now.
You don't think Austin Reeves can be the number 2 on a championship winning team?
No.
Okay.
All right. I'm worried. Well, I think he'd be a 3.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know if the word well off is the term you'd want to use because of the fact that they made the finals last year. But I mean, we'll see what this team does. I think it's definitely an interesting conversation, if you want to call it that, for like seasons to come, especially given the fact that Cooper Flagg is projected to be one of the more generational talents we've ever seen, and he has a lot of hype coming into the NBA. There was felt like towards the end of the season, a lot of teams were tanking for Flagg, and they would have loved to have him on their team. Obviously, we know how the draft lottery goes, and now Nico Harrison can see what he can do with that team. But I mean, that team definitely doesn't look too bad, especially if you can get like 1 or 2 free agents to come in the offseason, or like you have Kyrie Irving re-sign, like that team with Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and then the surrounding pieces around them. Like that team is still, obviously Luka Doncic was the engine and drove that team to the NBA Finals, but like that surrounding cast like picked him up even when he wasn't like, it wasn't all Luka Doncic. Like maybe you can attribute 70% of the finals run to him, but I think that the big men and everybody that was involved in that finals run, the majority of them are still on that team. So I think it's an interesting thought that now they have not Luka Doncic, but they have a significantly better defender, like for people that are probably significantly more fit, and probably a young and hungry Cooper Flagg.
The Mavericks, yeah. This whole conversation revolves around the Mavericks getting bailed out here with the lottery and the fact that they could potentially build a team here. Now they got to figure out what they want to do with Kyrie Irving. They have to make sure that he's still on the roster for most of this to work, but they have Anthony Davis for the foreseeable future. And it's a huge if those guys can stay healthy. With Cooper Flagg, that's a pretty good setup right there, and it certainly saves basketball in Dallas. And then when you're the Lakers, you're going to be building around Luka Doncic, he's got to get better conditioned. Like that wasn't a reason to trade him. There was a lot of people saying like, I don't care about his conditioning, no matter what, you don't trade him. But now it's getting to the point after having everything has been played out, the dust has settled. We know where the Mavericks are going, and we know where the Lakers are going. Luka Doncic has got to make sure that he's well conditioned enough, because we've seen players fall apart as the playoffs have gone on, get injured, get older and get injured. And there shouldn't be any room for something as controllable as his weight. And I just think it's interesting, because if this whole LeBron Luka thing doesn't end up providing a championship, and the Dallas Mavericks have Cooper Flagg and he turns out to be that guy for all of those years, people might end up looking at it a little bit different. And I think that's a really interesting conversation. Although I don't think that the Dallas Mavericks want any part of a series against the Lakers. I think that is just not something that they want PR-wise and everything. I think they're kind of ready to put that behind them. But I think it's interesting, man. It's got to be something that he figures out, hopefully, coming up to this next season. It's a little bit of a wake-up call, I think, for Luka.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree, and you want to think that with LeBron on the team, that the conditioning just like naturally would get a little bit better. But you look at like some of the pictures that are circulating online, and just in general, like Luka's never been like the most conditioned player in the NBA, and he's missed like time in like his NBA seasons. He's only played 70 or more games twice in his career over the course of, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons at this point. Wow. 8 or 9. So like I obviously 70 is a pretty high number, but like the other numbers are 61, 66, 65, 66, and last year he only played 50 regular season games. So it's like he's missing like 20 plus games like pretty regularly in these regular seasons. And it's like, if weight is also that, those are injuries that are not like completely like associated with like a weight issue or anything like that. Like if that starts coming into the picture as well, I mean, like you can only like putting on extra weight is good up until a point, and then I think we've passed that point by miles at this point. And obviously, like there was the fact that they used the front office in Dallas used that as the excuse to trade him was like egregious at the time, because it just felt like you never trade like a franchise player like that, and everybody was going to riot. But like, like not even in hindsight, like it's still bad. It's still a bad move, but like it part of it like makes like the tiniest bit of sense, just because of the fact that like you don't want a guy who is like seems a little bit less motivated than some other players in the league, and like is consistently coming in to training camp or whatever it is in the offseason just looking a little bit bigger than he should. And then you never trade away your franchise player, but it's definitely something like to think about, especially given the fact that like Dallas looks a little bit better now, now that they have Cooper Flag, and the Lakers are like at a point where they overachieved this season. But how long is like LeBron going to play at that level where they can consistently play that well? And then how good is the supporting cast around them? Not very good. Obviously, changes can be made in the offseason, but the centerpiece around this Lakers tenure for the next decade or so is going to be Luka Doncic, or at least they hope it's going to be Luka Doncic. And for that to be at least possible, and for them to make great runs, he needs to be like well conditioned.